Check, 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 check.
Good morning. It's 10:32 a.m. Eastern, and this is the BBOC live show presented by DraftKings. It's the Week 12 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-hosts Colin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. A lot to get to today. We'll give our first of two best bets in just a moment. We'll talk the marquee matchup between Oklahoma and Alabama. We'll build our money line parlay. Hopefully, we don't come up one game, one play short again. It's happened so many times this year. Last week, it was Temple by 1 point. At least the Owls did hold on for the cover after that epic 9.5 minute 50-yard march by Army to end the game. Duck will also talk some FCS, so make sure you have your books pulled up for that. Gentlemen, I can't believe it's week 12. We got college basketball in the mix now. It's win total sweat time. It's going to get cold outside. Luckily, there's lots of action inside. Duck, what are you looking forward to the most today?
There's so many fascinating games in the G5 that are going to help shape the races. We've got a big matchup in Conference USA. The American has big games. The Mountain West has a huge game. Just fascinating games that are really going to see these races. Somebody's going to get pole position in these races, so that's going to be interesting. Narduzzi, the comments he made to the media this week, is that going to bite him in the ass with the Notre Dame game and how they're in must-win mode? If Notre Dame loses, they're out. I think they treat this as a must-win. Pitt already said they're not going to. He said he didn't care if he's going to lose 100-0. I thought it was stunning comments. You don't say that to the media. So how does Pitt prepare this week and how do they show up for this game? I think will be real fascinating. I'll be watching that one closely.
Narduzzi also said it's a noon kick, so get liquored up on his radio show. So it was a great week of quotes from the Nardog. Colin, what are you looking forward to watch? Are you watching your Hogs? Are you
Oh,
looking
I
forward
was
to
I,
that game?
I was in Bud Walton Arena last night. If we were to talk basketball, like we almost lost to Samford. Samford's really good.
You were telling me you're going to win the national title a week ago. Now
Well, we're
you're
gonna.
almost
I mean, it
losing to
doesn't
Stanford at
matter.
home.
We beat the Bulldogs by 4. We're gonna win the national title. Look, Arkansas LSU is going to be a fun watch. Bobby Petrino threw a bunch of freshmen off the team this week because they went to a club down on Old Sixth Street, lied to Petrino about it, and he threw him off the team. And apparently, there's more people getting thrown off the team. So I would just see what version of Arkansas shows up. As long as Talon is playing, I'm expecting points. But if you're asking me what I'm looking forward to the most today, this storm that's hitting Southern California is unbelievable. Like Iowa is right there in the Coliseum today against USC and going to be able to play their own game. And like this storm that's hitting Southern California is going to limit what USC can do through the air. To me, that is the most fascinating thing today at 2:30.
Yeah, should be a fun watch out on the West Coast if you're into weather. Calabrese, how about you?
Well, just real quick, Colin, it's funny back in the summer thinking about Iowa and how their schedule was going to unfold. At least they're going to have a perfect weather trip in November, get out of the cold Midwest, and maybe be able to put up some points. Gronowski at that point, it was a mystery box in terms of what the offense was going to look like, and now it's going to be this slog. So you never know what you're going to get in an airline league like the Big Ten. In terms of games that I'm excited about today, if Horvath is a go for Navy, can they ruin USF's opportunity to play for the college football playoff bid at some point down the road? Because they've just been steamrolling teams, it seems like, particularly in the trenches. But if Horvath is a go, can Navy get things going in the right directions? You talked about win totals at the top, Stuck. I'm sweating out a Navy under. I basically need them to lose out after their hot start. But the way the schedule shook out, it seemed like that was the way it was going to go. They were going to stack wins and they were going to run into competition late. I just want to see if the midshipmen can get off the mat here and give USF a 60-minute game.
Yeah, Navy. Well, I think the win total was 8.5, right?
That's right.
Yeah, they can win one more. But they have Army at the end, but then they go to Memphis next week.
That's right.
So yeah, and I have South Florida futures. I'll be tuned into that one. That Navy has Horvath, Heidenreich, Chapman. They're all questionable. Probably updates coming soon. But yeah, USF win out. Probably going to the college football playoff. By the way, we will quick slips. We'll drop them in the YouTube chat if you want to follow along and add any of our bets that you want to tail to your bet slip. Make sure also you check out Playbook at Playbook on Twitter follow the new action bot. Super convenient. If you find any bets you like, you can just at playbook. It'll automatically generate the bet slip for you, especially if you're looking to follow like a player prop, parlays. It saves you a bunch of time and removes some of that manual entry. All right, let's get to our first best bets of the day. Colin, why don't you kick things off?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a game that just took a major whack on the board. I'm going to take Texas first quarter money line plus 145 at DraftKings. Georgia has horrific offensive starts under offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. This has been going on for 2 years with a scripted portion of his playbook just not working out whatsoever. Adjustments come along, and there's a reason why Georgia is 24th in the middle eight this year is because they make the best adjustments of any college football team, and they're absolutely just tanks in the red zone with Gunnar Stockton leading the way. They have a neutral scoring differential in the first quarter. The rest of the quarters, they absolutely dominate. So I expect Texas to come out here in the first quarter, play a lot of defense, keep that Mike Bobo offense from doing anything. Plus, on the other side of the ball, Arch Manning's had 2 games of 300 yards plus and at least 3 TDs. And Georgia's EPA pass allowed right now is 73rd. They do give up explosive passes. I mean, everything else is pretty good for them, but they don't generate a pass rush. They don't produce any havoc, and they haven't been able to stop the explosive pass. So I expect Texas to be on the board pretty quick here, and at least start Steve Sarkisian's, horrible play calling in the red zone will be neutralized here because Georgia's defense gives up a touchdown to everybody in scoring position.
Yeah, and all of Georgia's SEC games, with the exception of their home game against Kentucky, they've gone down in the first quarter. And then Kirby has made some key adjustments, and Stockton's played really well. The offense played really well, but the defense definitely has some warts. You mentioned the pressure. Like the sack rate is among the 5 worst in the country. Kirby's teams, they're not usually way up there in sacks, but usually they can generate much more pressure than they have been outside the top 100 in pressure rate. And look no further than their 2 games against Texas last year. They had 13 sacks, I believe, in 2 games. They don't even have that many for the entire season in 2025. So that should help Texas out here because their offensive line has been an issue. Arch has played better, his 2 best games over the past 2 games, although, they've come against a gas Vandy defense in Mississippi State. Now, the Georgia defense isn't great. It is a step up from those two. So we'll see if he can continue that momentum today. Calabrese, what are you looking at?
Let's go from a marquee game at the top of the board all the way to the bottom of the board in Conference USA. I'll lay the 10.5 with the Delaware Blue Hens against the Sam Houston team. That is absolutely awful. They get that bump because they finally got an FBS win against Oregon State, but they were outgained in that game 474 yards to 157, one of the most improbable wins from a net success rate comparison for the entire season. Hunter Watson also out for Sam Houston, leaving probably Matauer to be the quarterback here. He's not a dual threat. If you look at the meaningful snaps that he got in the first 2 games of the season against UNLV and Hawaii, he had 48 dropbacks. He was pressured on over 30% of those dropbacks, took 6 sacks. I think they're going to be behind the sticks this entire game. And the final little caveat here, I know that Delaware is in their transition and they are bowl ineligible, but if they get to 6 wins and there are not enough teams to field every single bowl game, they're first in line to be able to get one of those slots that happened to Jacksonville State a few years ago. And also, we just saw it last year where Marshall had all those players defect and they ended up pulling out of a bowl game. So plenty to play for UDEL in this spot. They have a much better quarterback in Minakuchi, who's been consistent throughout the entire season as a playmaker, both with his legs and his arm. So I have no problem laying up really to the edge at 2 touchdowns with Delaware.
I still have no idea how Sam Houston beat Oregon State last year. I mean, Oregon State has a historically bad special teams, but what they outgained them 450 to like
474 to 170. I mean, to almost like triple
and they
up
were down
somebody's yard.
17-0, right?
Just insane. Like as I said, most improbable win at the G5 level I saw all season.
Yeah, that was something. Duck, what are you looking at?
My favorite team total of the week, Wake Forest team total under. This has come down, but I still think you can get above 21.5. We saw it last week against Virginia. This team didn't score an offensive touchdown. They averaged 3 yards per play, just 12 first downs and 203 total yards last week. Wake's averaged 250 yards per game over the last 3 with just 12 points per game. You look at Wake's red zone offense, the worst in the P4, 29 trips inside opponent 20-yard line, 10 touchdowns. They settle for field goals or empty trips far too frequently. For everything UNC isn't, Their defense has shown up the last 4 weeks, four solid performances in a row, allowing 15 points per game over that stretch, 300 yards or less allowed in all four of those recent games. The Heels have forced 66 third down attempts in that stretch. Shows me they're having success on first and second down. They're getting teams into second and 10, third and medium or worse. That's going to be trouble for Wake. They're not going to be able to throw their way out of it. Robbie Ashford's been a little off the last month or so. I like Wake team total under. I think this will be a real hard fought competitive game. I give UNC a chance to win this game live on the field. I think they're going to really compete here. But first to 17 wins this one. Wake's not scoring 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I love this one. I'm on this myself. I mean, Wake scored 29 offensive points over the past 3 games. The offense is completely broken. They can't throw the ball. No one's running on UNC right now. UNC's defense is playing at an incredible level. I mean, if you include sacks, and the reason I mention this, they have 20 sacks over the past 4 games. They're giving up around 2.2 yards per carry. They changed some things along that defensive line. They're getting after the opposing quarterback. And look, their one weakness is at corner. Their best corner is out with an injury. That's not something Wake can exploit. And UNC really should be on a 4 game winning streak, right? Like they outplayed Virginia.
Cal.
And you look at how these two teams played Virginia. Virginia outgained Wake by 150. Wake got a punt return for a touchdown. Virginia lost its quarterback. And UNC dominated Virginia, had fumbled at the goal line. They came up 1 inch short, literally 1 inch short on a 2 point conversion from winning that game. They also fumbled at the goal line against Cal, should have won that game. So yeah, I think this is like who can get to 17 first. I don't know where the points are going to come from. Hopefully there's some turnover luck on North Carolina's side because I'm on them as well. But for my first best bet, I'm going to go with Washington State at home against Louisiana Tech. This is just a spot play. I was tweeting about this spot in June, looking at the schedules. I think, Duck, you were maybe replying to me about it, saying La Tech has to go from Newark out to Pullman. As far as, I mean, yeah, unless they were going to Hawaii, that's as brutal of a trip as you're going to make. And then you got to get on a bus and then go on a long bus ride. Washington State coming off of a bye, need this game most likely to get to bowl eligibility. And to make matters worse, the spot got even worse. Louisiana Tech lost in heartbreaking fashion. I mean, they were up, gave up a touchdown, gave up an onside kick, and then I didn't even know Delaware could make a 52-yard field goal. And they gave up a 52-yard field goal to win it. Now they're eliminated from any crazy potential to get to a conference championship. I don't know how they get off the bus here. They also lost their starting quarterback for the year to an ACL. They can't get pressure, which is the one weakness or the one primary weakness on Washington State. And the Washington State defense is trending up. I mean, over the past 4 games, they're allowing right around 13 points per game. And you might say, well, who's Washington State play? Well, they played at Virginia, they played at Ole Miss, and they almost won both of those games. And then they crushed Toledo, held them to 7 points. This is a similar spot to Toledo. Middle of conference play, going out to the Palouse. Are they going to show up? Toledo didn't. I'd be surprised if La Tech did. I'll make them prove it to me. So I'm going with Wazoo. All right, before we build our moneyline parlay, I'll throw it to myself for a quick read on our sponsor, DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, and 3 months of NBA League Pass. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have a shot to win cash prizes. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BBOC when signing up and bet $5 to get 300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours. We've come up 1 game, 1 play, 1 yard, 1 point short many times this year. Hopefully you're round robbing these. The culprit in the past has always been Calabrese. Last week it was Duck. It was a good play with Temple, but they came up 1 point short. Other 3 cash. Let's go 4 for 4 this week. Collin,
Well,
Start us off with the fraud.
yeah, I mean, come on. You know they're winning. I know nobody here agrees and nobody's wanting to be on this train, but Virginia is still got a little bit of bag of voodoo in them, and they're going to show it today. Duke is spiraling out of control on defense, and it's not in a good way. 135th in defensive finishing drives. That means they're second to last. When teams get into scoring position, they're allowing everything to cross. They're 125th in pass EPA allowed, 117th in coverage. That's just if Chandler Morris does play today, that is a huge issue, which yeah, he's listed as questionable, but I'm hearing he's going to clear concussion protocol. Legitimate hope that Chandler Morris will play is what was said. Questionable, but you know what? Jamari Taylor, Harrison Whaley on the ground, they average more than 4 yards after first contact. I mean, the Virginia offensive line isn't really plowing holes, but these two running backs are as explosive as any. And Duke's defense, I cannot say this enough, how bad Duke's defense is. So Virginia plus 142 at DraftKings.
Yeah, it's amazing the drop off the Duke defense from last year to this year. You take their offense this year with Mensa. I mean, last year they were just like, all right, Malik Murphy, we're going to go max protect every once in a while, take a shot, but let's rely on our defense to win games. Now the defense, it has fallen apart on the back end. They can still get pressure. That's about it. They can't tackle. They give up so many yards after the catch. But Duke games are so dumb. So I mean, putting another team that's playing against them in a money line parlay, not the worst idea. I'm sure Duke will find ways on special teams, fumbles, undisciplined play. That's how it's been all year. But huge game in the ACC. I mean, the ACC is wild. Miami still has a path. If Duke wins out, I mean, they could go, but I don't think they would. I don't necessarily think they would go to the college football playoff with 4 losses. That like if USF and JMU wins out, so the ACC has been absolutely wild this year. All right, Collin's going with Virginia. Calabrese, I am back to despising your picks. I hate this one. This is the G5 versus our episode
Mhm.
play battle of the week. Where are you going?
So this one is predicated on it's very difficult to win in Statesboro. I can appreciate that, Gata, everything else, but Georgia Southern's the walking wounded on defense. 6 of their top 15 tacklers are listed as questionable in this game, and running quarterbacks have consistently hurt the Eagles all season long. Jalen Rayner from Arkansas State, 50 plus on the ground, 3 touchdowns. James Madison, Jacksonville State found success with mobile quarterbacks as well. And here comes Samari Collier, who's going to dominate in the run game. And then on the other side of things, if it is a close game, turnovers, obviously, I don't need to state the obvious here. Just like in college basketball, who makes more threes? In college football, who wins the turnover battle? I get to be on the other side of a couple JC French interceptions. This guy has thrown 29 turnover-worthy passes in the past year and a half. The guy is a walking turnover. If they are in a position where they can't rely on the run game, which is their strength, and I understand that Coastal is not great in their front seven to be able to stop it, but if game script indicates that they have to throw the ball, I think I'm going to get a turnover or two. It's going to be enough. Coastal is just a different team with Collier as their starting quarterback. I still don't think the market has corrected enough to account for his impact at the quarterback position. So I'm going to go with the Chance here at plus 135.
I completely disagree. I mean, look, Coastal's been better with Collier, but here's what they beat: UL Monroe, App State, Marshall, Georgia State, and South Alabama. I mean, those are absolutely
Those sound
dreadful.
like teams right in the Georgia Southern neighborhood in terms of not being very good. So I agree. The Sun Belt is down the bottom half of it this year. But when I look at Georgia Southern, I just don't see the consistency with the quarterback play to get there. And in terms of you disliking the play, it worked for me last week with Jacksonville State. So if you can throw more negativity on it, I think it's better for our four-teamer to hit.
UTEP should have won that game. All right. Duck, where are you going?
I like Air Force to go out and win this game on the field today. You look at UConn, great team, fun story, good quarterback in Fegnano, 25-0 touchdown to interception ratio. UConn is a major play up, play down team. We've seen massive spirited efforts against all three of their ACC teams this year, and then they've thrown up some complete turds against Ball State, Buffalo, Rice, Delaware. If you look at how they've played against these kind of big brother, really good spirited effort against Syracuse, should have won that game, and then the very following week, doesn't go so well against Delaware. Really spirited effort beating Boston College. The very next week, they go out and lose on the field outright against Rice. I just don't think UConn's defense is set up well to defend this scheme. I don't think that they'll be able to prevent the successful plays. Air Force won't have a lot of explosivity in the ground game, but they'll outpossess UConn. They'll run the ball significantly well. I like the way that Liam Zarka has control of this offense. When I look at UConn, 130th in rush play success rate allowed, 124th in explosiveness given up on the ground. I don't think Air Force will get a lot of the explosive plays, but they give up 300 yards rushing against Rice. They just cannot stop the run. I know they'll throw the ball all over Air Force. I think they'll put up some points here, but Air Force could have the ball last year down 5 with a chance to win this game outright, and UConn will not be able to stop them on the ground here. So Air Force peaked about this time last season and went on a nice run. I think they can still get to bowl game eligibility. I like Air Force here.
Yeah, UConn cannot stop the run. I mean, look at their two games against Ball State, who they almost lost to at home, and Rice, who they did lose to. Those are two teams that have like triple option kind of Air Force type offenses, and I think Air Force can take full advantage. Now, how's Air Force going to stop Skylar Bell and Fagnano? I don't know, but this game should be back and forth throughout. All right, I'm going to throw in UNC against Wake. Already talked about this game, low scoring, points at a premium, a lot of variance. So yeah, let's throw in the heels. So we have UNC, Air Force, Coastal, and Virginia. 54 to 1 at DraftKings. Hopefully, we don't come up one game short this week. By the way, we've been rolling out and continue to roll out awesome updates on the Action app. And the best way to get the most from the app is by being an Action Pro subscriber. Pro subs can get real-time alerts whenever any of us post a pick. Sign up today with promo code BBOC for $20 off an annual subscription. All right, let's get to our marquee matchup of the day between Oklahoma and Alabama. A lot of storylines here. Alabama with revenge from last year when Oklahoma stunned them and just dominated them on the field with just a run-heavy game plan. Meanwhile, Oklahoma really needs this game for their college football playoff hopes. Storylines galore. Can't wait for this one this afternoon. Collin, what are you looking at?
Yeah, Oklahoma +6 is going to be the play, 6.5 if you can go out there and shop and find it. But what Oklahoma has previously given Alabama a lot of problems. And specifically, I'm talking about John Mateer. He had a breakthrough against Tennessee, forced 3 missed tackles, had 3 explosive runs. That's the highest he's had in either of those in any game this season. So maybe a little bit of the Washington State John Mateer running the Ben Arbuckle offense with a lot of RPOs and keepers will play out here because Kane Womack's defenses have been horrible against mobile quarterbacks. Lenora Sellers was a leading rusher and had a TD for South Carolina. Same thing for Bo Prabula of Missouri. And then, we know what FSU and Tommy Castellanos did on the ground. So, John Mateer has the ability to exploit that nickel defense that Alabama has. And then on the other side, I know LSU's secondary is good, but Ty Simpson went 21 of 35. He was not clean. He was not crisp. And his on-target rate really got blown out. It went from 10th all the way down to about 28. So he is not even close to being the most accurate passer anymore. And that's a really bad thing against Oklahoma because they're 10th in the nation in creating a contested catch. So really small windows for Ty Simpson to throw into. And on the other side, John Mateer should have the ability to run wild on a defense that's susceptible to that.
Calabrese, you're looking the other way.
Yeah, I'm going all the way in the other way. I'm going to lay 13.5 on the alt line, nearly 2 to 1 out in the market. Kalen DeBoer at home in SEC play, 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. 4 of those games, by the way, against ranked opponents. Margin of victory in across those 7 games, 14.5 points. And I just look at this as like having to slice and dice Oklahoma's season a little bit. Mateer post-injury throwing the football, 59% completions, only 184 pass yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The Alabama pass defense, I understand that they struggle a bit with mobile quarterbacks, but if they can force him to play from the pocket at all, they're second in coverage, they're 16th in success rate against the pass, opposing quarterbacks 23rd in QB rating. And while I respect Venables, I think his run defense is incredible. But what's interesting is Alabama can't run the ball anyway, so they're not going to just ram their head into the wall and try to go 2 to 3 yards at a time. They're going to abandon it and they're going to throw it. And OU in their last 2 games, when they finally drew really good quarterbacks, because most of their season it was empty calories against offenses that either had young quarterbacks or had horrific quarterback play. Shambles from Ole Miss, Aguilar from Tennessee. Those 2 games, those offenses scored 61 total points And together, those two quarterbacks threw for over 700 yards. I'm not saying that Oklahoma is a fraud at all defensively. I think that they're real. I respect Venables, but I think they fattened up a little bit statistically against some really weak quarterbacks. And if you want to talk about Ty Simpson, yes, last week was not his sharpest game against LSU, but look at his body of work this entire season. Go back to the Mizzou game, some of the tight windows he threw into. I trust him to get this done, and I think if the game script has them up 7 to 10 points and Mateer has to throw the ball, there's going to be some empty possessions and some turnovers for the Sooners. So I'm going to swing big here, try to get a 2-for-1 or a 2-to-1 payout on Alabama laying 13.5.
I'm personally looking to get Oklahoma live. I mean, Alabama, with the revenge, with their script, which is usually so good, I think we might be able to get a better number on Oklahoma live. So that's what I'm looking for. I mean, Collins, this is a one-dimensional Alabama offense. Maybe that makes it easier in the secondary, but that is my concern too, that the two competent passing attacks that Oklahoma has faced, they've looked a little vulnerable on the back end, and that's basically how Alabama is going to try to attack them. But Collins' favorite stat is the only team to beat DeBoer in the first quarter is Vandy, right?
Yep. Yep.
Duck,
True.
I know you don't have much here. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, fascinating matchup. It really is a revenge spot, and I'm sure Kalen DeBoer has not forgotten about it. But the interesting thing is you're giving Venables an extra week to prep here now, and his defense really frustrated Alabama last season. I just think we've already talked about Alabama's not going to be able to run the ball very effectively here. So now you're asking Ty Simpson to make big time throws against an elite secondary and a pass rush that's first in havoc created, first in sacks could look a little bit tricky. I just think this game overall looks a lot more like Oklahoma's first 3 or 4 SEC games this season as opposed to the last two. So I lean under. I just couldn't get to the window on anything really here.
Yeah, I would lean under as well there. All right, let's bring in just Duck here for the D block, talk some FCS. Duck, we're starting off in prime time on ESPN2, I believe.
Yeah, Montana State, real strong Big Sky team. They're going to be a top 4 seed in the FCS playoffs. It's going to be a fun game tonight. Montana State's defense has really shown up in conference play, allowing just 99 rushing yards per game and 11 points per game in league play. Cal Davis has a redshirt freshman quarterback who has looked good this season, but lining up against this defense is going to be really major trouble in this environment for Montana State at home. We should see Montana State run the ball a ton here and salt away the second half. Cal Davis has 16 players that they've lost to season-ending injuries. Many of them have been on the defensive side. I think that this is going to be real trouble for the Aggies to try to stop Montana State's ground attack. I don't think that the redshirt freshman is going to play as well as he has in the past. I'm laying the 16.5, 17.5. Anything up to 20 is good with Montana State. They should win this game. Could get really wonky in the second half for UC Davis.
All right, for your second pick, this some were saying this is the game of the day. Some were saying College Game Day was considering going here, but ultimately decided not to. So the question is, who do you like between Long Island and St. Francis?
I mean, it is possibly the game of the day if you hate um,
Football?
explosive plays and all of those different sort of fun offense and everything else. Two very slow paced teams that average less than 300 yards each. Long Island run heavy 62% of the time. We're going to continue to see that. They have two quarterback system with Lucas Stenzani and Ethan Greenwood. Both of them are below average. St. Francis of PA has one rushing play all season that has exceeded 20 yards. Long Island only has 12. Both of these defenses are significantly better than the offenses. We're just not going to see a lot of passing. We're not going to see a lot of deep shots. It's going to be a slow burning grinder. This under is really low. This is a gross game, but anything about 39.5, 40, go get the under on this one.
And we won't leave you. We have to give you some excitement, so we have an over to close things out.
Yeah, Idaho State's last home game of the season, and Jordan Cook is back and throwing the ball around. Weber State's defense is just in complete free fall. 430 yards per game, 6.5 yards per play, and 41 points per game allowed this season. Idaho State's been really competitive at home. We should see a massive offensive day out of the Bengals. Both these defenses are terrible per PFF grades in tackling. They can't cover. They struggle to stop the run. Should be a ton of explosives back and forth. Idaho State should score 45. I think Weber State's good for 24. Anything about 62, 61, take the over in this one. Currently 59.5, but it's going to move quick. So over 59.5 here.
All right, good stuff from Duck. We got the Long Island under, Montana State laying the lumber, and Weber over. All right, before we get out of here, at the horn, one final best bet. Try to keep it to 30 seconds, which means Colin's going to go into all kinds of havoc and finishing drives data. Colin, what do you got? I think you're on mute.
I'm not on mute, right? Okay,
That's
so
now he's not. I guess that's
yeah.
why we speed this segment up. Just keep
Uh,
Colin on mute,
well,
and
I've
then move
I've
on.
I've killed half my 30 seconds. So let's go CJ Carr, quarterback for Notre Dame, over 265 and a half passing yards. Yes, the Pitt defense is fantastic against the run. They can shut down the outside zone of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, but they have no answers in their coverage. They give up too many pass explosives, 78th in defensive pass EPA. And Pitt's 29th in defensive contested catch rate. But guess what? CJ Carr is the 15th most accurate passer in FBS football. Let's do Notre Dame over CJ Carr over 265 and a half passing yards.
Calories.
I'm gonna go Southern Miss. Been laying it for weeks now. They just keep covering. They've scored 38 points 5 times this year. Their defense top 15 in success rate against the pass, coverage, EPA, pass rush, and Texas State is just wretched on defense. 113th in havoc, 132nd in quality drives allowed. For Pete's sake, they're giving up 43 points per game in Sun Belt play. Braylon Braxton now game time decision. I think he's a go. If he is, hammer this one on USM.
I'm hearing he might not be a go, but we'll see. Duck.
Washington Huskies minus 14 and a half. Major spot play that I had circled in the summer. Horrific spot for Purdue here. They've played 6 straight max effort weeks, including Michigan and Ohio State in back-to-back weeks. They face Washington now, who's embarrassed off that loss last week against Wisconsin. Time for the offense to get right at home against Purdue's defense, which is 115th in yards per play, 130th in explosivity allowed, 124th in overall success rate on defense. Purdue shouldn't really have a lot of explosive plays here. They're going to struggle to run the ball. Not having Maccabee is huge for the Boilers. I think this team fades in the second half. They really need the bye week. Washington scores 42 to 45 here, and the Boilers will not keep up.
All right, I'll close things out with the Pokes. Give me just over a field goal here. I don't think there's much difference between these teams, and I think that their offense is going to trend up over the final 3 weeks. They changed play callers. They made a change at right tackle. They got their tight end back. Fresno, they changed quarterbacks. Their quarterback in 2 FBS games has the worst completion percentage among any starter, the worst yards per attempt. This is rock fight, similar to North Carolina Wake. I'll take the points. That'll do it for us. Let's get 4-4 on the parlay, 54 to 1 at DraftKings today. Thanks to Colin, Mike, and Duck for joining me. Thanks to our producer, Giff, on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. 959 Bad Beat. Don't forget about the voicemail. We'll have our recap episode tomorrow. That'll be out Monday. Group of 5 guys, Duck and Calabrese, their episode, as always, will be out on Wednesday, previewing the Week 13. Crazy to say, the Week 13 slate. Myself and Colin will be back on Thursday, and then we'll be back same time next week, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Thanks again for tuning in. Good luck on all of your wagers today. Enjoy the football. Cheers.